okay?
You're a little bit quiet, but hello and welcome everyone to round number 2 here at League of Europe for the United States Grand Prix, coming to you from the Circuit of the Americas as we just loaded into quali, and it is looking to be dry in the commentary booth here tonight to lead you through the second round of the championship for season number 6. It's going to be myself, QVR Packer, and alongside me it's going to be Old School 3000. How's it going, Mark?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm going to try and bring the mic a little bit closer, and hopefully we can get this off to a bang, because this is my first D4 proper race, and I am looking forward to it, because obviously our championship leader is not here today.
Yeah, championship leader not here. Unfortunately, Alt Maverick could not make it here tonight. But the rest of, well, I would say championship contenders, but it's only been one round as second round of the season. But the rest of the results from last week, I guess, is the thing that we can go through. Ryan B took the second spot on the podium, and then Major Falcon took third place. Ariel Jordan and Cam K took fourth and fifth. MCR, Iverbrand Mike Ivor scoring points surprisingly. Slayer, Slumcon, Mr. Wouter Wooter, I'm not entirely sure on pronunciation there. Alex, and then Giant Bravery. Those are all of the points finishers. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Alt Maverick unfortunately missing his home race, but hopefully he can come back next week in what is going to be the Spanish Grand Prix and show us up once again. But it's going to be interesting to see who can get out to another strong second week.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got obviously Giant Bravery out first. There's been some good shouts for some good performances this week. Cam K has been shouted out in the Killer Instincts, and he's had a very polarised first week, so he'll either do really well or crash out, which seems to be the theme from Jake, who does the predictions. But I'm looking forward to seeing some names that I've raced personally. So Energetics and Jabbo, I've raced at very different stages. I've raced Energetics in a different league, a league that used to be as big as the current biggest league, but is no more. Rest in peace, AOR. And Jabbo, who is a very quick guy. He's won a title and he's come back, which is nice to see. And they're the two I'm kind of keeping an eye on, as well as Ivor, who this is Ivor's least favourite track, so I would assume he's expecting a spin. So they're the three I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, Ivor putting in the chat, though, that it's going to be a wet race. We're not entirely sure for how long or whenever that rain or that weather is going to play into the storyline of this Grand Prix. But Giant Bravery is starting a lap. And Mark, you want to take us through this first lap for the Williams driver?
Absolutely. So turn 1, very important to get on the power as quick as possible. You need to keep the car steady through here. Keep a tight line through, I believe, what would be 2. This section is going to catch a lot of these guys out, I feel. He's been very conservative. You need to keep quite a tight line here as well. A bit wide, but this corner as well, not aggressive enough for me. Probably keep this in 4th, flick up to 5th ideally, which he does. And he gets his way down onto this hairpin. Again, very similar to turn 1. You need to get onto the traction, get the car turned around as quick as possible. And he does that fairly well. Not as aggressive on the traction as perhaps some will be. Keeps the DRS wide open down here, which is a very tough corner now. If you're using Racing Line, you've got to be a little bit earlier than what it suggests as he tries to get some slipstream off Jabbo. Nice line through there, the popular line, enables you to kind of straighten the car up for this little section, which is a tough little one. Going through in gear 3 is quite difficult with no TC, but it's the fastest way, as he now needs to get, again, you know, the power is so important out of here on traction zones on 3 or 4 of these corners. Keep a tight as possible line here. You won't be able to do it in the race. Your car will wash out a little bit. This is the corner that makes dreams, and that has not made his dream there. You have to be really aggressive and go after the lap at the end, and I suspect this will be a 31.7.
31.8, just a little bit off there, but yeah, he goes up to the top of the timesheets for the time being. Cam K just crossed the line and goes on to provisional pole position, already into the 1 minute 30s for Cam K, already looking pretty decent for his weekend to, well, I would say start off, but it is Saturday now, so can't be Friday night. But yeah, I think Bagabo just crossed the line, and there's going to be an Alfa Romeo. It's pulley-pulls. We did have a spinner, and that was Marty at turn 1. He's going to be out of qualifying, so he's not going to be able to set a lap time in this one. Pulley-pulls comes across the line, 31.5 for the Alfa Romeo. There was a Haas TRT James on the medium tires, interestingly enough. A 38.4, though, so must have made a mistake on that one. And then Mr. Wouter in the Aston Martin. A lot of drivers coming across the line right now, but Cam K on provisional pole position by 0.4 of a second so far.
That is the Kamko that we missed as James is round. He's had a spin. He needs to be very careful that he doesn't get himself disqualified because he's kind of parked on the apex of turn 1 and he's going backwards, and the game does not like people going backwards. But yeah, Kamko, he's showing the full...
Oh,
yeah,
disqualified.
Yeah, I had a feeling because the game just hates even inching backwards. But Kamko is really... I mean, that's a lap that would be a great banker in D2, is my honest opinion. Very strong, very strong lap, and I wonder, there's the people like MCR, and there's a lot of people that can challenge potentially, but I don't necessarily feel like that's going to be too far off a top 5, even that lap.
Drivers in Division 4 can spring a slight surprise. We had Calvin and Forza Brennan last season, the absolute, I don't want to say quality merchant, but Calvin was definitely stronger than qualifying than he was in the race. Alt Maverick last time out in Bahrain, pole position time of 125.1, and I think he was almost faster than me in qualifying in Division 2. So it was pretty interesting. It was quite the shock coming out of qualifying in Division 2 as Jabo comes across the line to a 2 minute 5 seconds. That's not entirely competitive, I wouldn't want to say. But yeah, Division 4 can spring a few surprises. Obviously, League of Europe is going to be getting quicker all the time. We're going to get a lot of new drivers in. We were supposed to have 6 divisions coming into this one of the preseason races. We did have 6, but had to shim it down to 5. So yeah, now it's going to all the divisions are going to be a lot more competitive now.
Yeah, 100%, and this is a shining example of why, because we've got 20 drivers here, as we've got Ryan B coming through. This is a man that's good in changeable conditions, as is Slayer, as is McDutchface. I think those 3 also, they tend to be very quiet, but they do shine as he goes quickest. Yep.
Yeah, we do have to remember, though, that there is going to be, well, Ivor has put in the chat, it's going to be a full wet race. If that's full wet conditions or the entire race is just going to be, it's going to be in those changeable or intermediate conditions. Possibly we could even see the Blue Wall full wet compounded tires. But yeah, so we have to take into consideration, are the guys at the top of the leaderboard right now, are they running that compromised setup possibly? But Ryan B, I'm not entirely sure. 1 minute 30.8. Looking pretty strong already, and you said he's good in those changeable conditions. So maybe went for a little bit more of a drier setup look, went for that track position, because it's going to be even more difficult, especially with the lowered amount of downforce in this game, to overtake in those wet conditions. Jabo goes up in a P10 on a 131.9. Most of the drivers have finished their first runs, and I think are going up for second runs just about now.
Yeah. No, and the thing is the back straight, you could argue in wet conditions, this twisty section that McDutchface is going through now would be a very, very good place to potentially make some overtakes. But if you lose that time on the back straight, you're not going to be close enough. So, as McDutchface, I bigged him up because he went fastest in Sector 2, and he just had a really nightmare turn 19. He's going to come over the line. I suspect this is still going to be somewhat compared. Yeah, he had a real big moment. Not the best for him, but he's got some pace in there.
Yeah, you could definitely tell. On the broadcast camera, you couldn't even see the inside curve. That's how wide he went. I'm sure he has so much more time in that lap right now. Ariel Jordan, another driver who was strong last week on that, I believe it was soft medium or soft hard strategy last time out. He goes up into P3. The 2 Mercedes are looking good once again this week. Ryan B, second place. I believe Jordan finished in 4th, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Mercedes looking good once again, already putting in their bid for possible Constructors Champions. But I'm sure a lot of other drivers will have something to say about that, a lot of other teams. But no specific team besides the 2 Mercedes are looking strong together, I would have to say.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, question for you, we might find ourselves in this position in not too far away. Let's say it's a full wet race on wet tyres and it's a completely dry quali. What what setup changes do you make, if any?
I don't even know if I figured out the fully dry setups so far in this game yet, so I'm not even entirely sure. I'll have to bring it to the QVR Discord and ask for some advice, basically have them tell me what to do when it comes to race time for Division 2, if it is going to be wet. But hopefully we just kind of have to pray that there is no weather. We're in Texas right now, so hopefully there won't be any rain. Maybe it'll just be a little bit cold as it is in real life, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe up the ride height a little bit, I know, but even with these curbs, there are a few curbs that can be absolutely deadly if you go over them with the wrong, with not high enough ride height, or just are too aggressive over those curbs. So I'm not entirely sure. The ride height is already pretty high. That's one of the main changes you made last game on F1 2020. So I would be completely lost if it came down to wet conditions in D2 later on.
I think it's a tough one. With the higher wings being kind of flouted around. Anyway, this game you have to run higher wings. I don't know what adjustments you have to make. Maybe you have to make less. Maybe it's actually a bit easier in that sense, and maybe this is where Ryan B and Cam K are kind of coming into their own a bit.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Ryan B, though, hasn't quite improved yet. We have the yellow flag in Sector 2. I'm not entirely sure what that is for. MCR just crossed the line. He goes up to P3. He improves by 4.5 tenths of a second there onto a 1:31.186. So far, Cam K and Ryan B, the only two into the 1 minute 30s, but it is getting a little bit closer up at the top of the field as more drivers set times. Giant Bravery, 0.27 in the Williams, a 1:31.2, and as I mentioned, is getting a little bit more competitive. A lot of drivers are starting to get in within range of each other. 1 or 2 tenths could gain you quite a few positions, as it was in a few divisions last season as well. So Division 4 becoming competitive once again. And as Dirt Team crosses the line, he goes on to pole position by 0.04 of a second in the Alpha Tower. So maybe another driver in there. Just don't think he finished. I don't think he scored points last time. Yeah, he didn't finish last week in Bahrain. So Alpha Tower driver looking for a little bit of a bounce back race here tonight.
Yeah, and from the first lap I had on board with him, that's a big improvement, real big improvement, and interesting to see what he can do in his third run. I feel like a lot of people are going to use these first couple of laps for almost guides, and should improve quite drastically.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There is going to be quite a bit of track improvement. There are a lot of things, a lot of places you have to get absolutely right if you want to have a quick lap time here around the Circuit of the Americas. Energetics just coming through the final corners. Eduk actually goes fastest, one of my sparring partners in Division 3 quite a bit earlier on, but 1:30.650 that is the Alpine, I do believe. Williams, sorry. Quite a few blues there on the screen, but yeah. There are a lot of things you have to get right. The first sector, you have to be absolutely clinical. You can't be wrong in any part of that sector. You have to be absolutely perfect if you want to have that competitive first sector. The middle sector is very difficult, especially up the hill, just riding on board with Eduk on his in-lap. You have to be perfect on the traction. You can't have any little snaps. And there are track limits there from the steward up at the top at turn 9. You can extend it a little bit, but I wouldn't recommend it. You might pick up a 5-second time penalty or that quali ban. I'm sure eventually someone will pick up one of those. And then the third sector, so very difficult. So many tight and twisty sections, and especially with that penultimate corner and the final corner, so very difficult. You have to get the line perfect there as well. And there are stewards. The stewards are looking at those final 2 corners as well. So you have to be pretty much perfect if you want to put a good lap together here in the United States.
Yeah, you don't want to. I think there's a bit of a glitch where you can kind of basically cross the line off track, which is not something you want to do. There's so many validations, by the way. I'm just trying to ride on board with people coming through, and there are just so many people that are pushing a little bit too close to the edge. And yeah, just a lot of people have messed up their second run, and interesting to see how people can adapt. I mean, this grid is really tight. There are a couple of stragglers in some senses, but they're not really that far away. You've got 4th through to 18th, separated by a second, and if Ivor's last in that sense. So to think that someone from a really competitive lap to pretty much the worst lap possible is separated by a second is pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, especially Well, I keep mentioning Division 2 from last season, but it was so close. I remember at Austria, I think there was at one point 7 or 8 drivers separated by 1/10 of a second. It was absolutely insane. So, yeah, seeing these close times is really quite intriguing, actually, just to watch what these drivers are able to do, and that they are so close. Ariel Jordan, who was at one point fourth with his lap time on a 1:31.2, actually will come into the pits with 3 minutes left. So I would guess trying to get out for a final run, unless he'd already used all 3 sets of soft tires. Not entirely sure. I would imagine he would have if there's only 3 minutes left in the session. But
yeah, the fact it's wet might help. You know, you don't mind putting a second lap on perhaps the least worn set. But I think this is interesting. Is this going to favour people like Eduk and MCR and Energetics, let's say, who have raced at a higher level previously at some point, you know, where the gaps are smaller, or is it going to favour someone like Camke, who has got a sniff of pole and has won a title? This could be very interesting to see who improves and who doesn't when the grid is this slight. It's very, very difficult to get everything out when you know every temp counts.
Yeah, for sure. A driver who could be improving quite drastically here. McDuckfish currently 17th, second to last out of the drivers who have set times. Oh, just coming through that penultimate corner, extending it just a little bit, just on that white line. Coming through the final corner, set purple middle sector, but it's a 1:31.4, improves by 4/10 and goes just in behind his teammate in Slayer. McDuckfish only up to 13th, and there is not going to be any free tire choice because of the rain. So it's going to be inters or wets, I would imagine. For the start of this one, another driver, I think the only other driver on a lap right now is MCR 2712, and he's coming through turn 2 right now in the Alpine, just heading through this S section. As we mentioned previously, you have to be absolutely perfect. Staying in 7th gear, though, down to 6th, and now heading through turn 7, 8, and 9, now through the middle sector. Up the hill, short shifting up to 5th gear, getting pretty decent traction. He's going to have to improve by quite a bit, though, if he wants to get up to that pole position. I think it's just around half a second if he wants to get up onto that front row.
Yeah, I think with Dutchface is going to recharge his battery and go again. He's going to try and get round because the fuel light isn't flashing. I don't know if that's just a glitch on quali, but I think a few of them might have put in a bit more fuel to have 2 goes at this.
Yeah, only a minute, just under a minute now left in qualifying. Obviously, we started with 18 minutes in this short qualifying session, 43 seconds to be exact, as MCR still heading through the final sector. We have a few drivers starting laps, drivers on laps right now. We have Storm, we have Poles, we have Alex, we have Iverburn Mike, we have Eduk, a current pole position sitter. Mr. Wilder just crossed the line, as well as Giant Bravery just heading into turn 1. But MCR is heading through the penultimate corner. Looked pretty neat for the Alpine driver, but you have to be so very aggressive through the final corner, down to 3rd gear, up to 4th, the opening up that DRS. It's a 31.1, only found 15 thousandths of a second, unfortunately, so unable to improve massively on his lap. He's going to have to get out of the way for all these other drivers who are just now crossing the line. And he's not going to be able to go again, obviously just finishing his lap. Energetics just crossing the line to start one. So there's going to be a lot of drivers now just about to cross the line. Poles is going to be the first one to cross the said line, and he improves by half a second. Will go up into P5, just barely on the edge of the 1:30s, on the 1 minute 30s, as we had an Aston Martin cross the line. That was Storm, a 1:30.8. He puts himself up into the top 3. There's a McLaren coming across the line. I think that was Ivor, and unfortunately did not improve on his lap. So now we have a pretty big gap towards the next driver, but it's going to be the Williams, the provisional pole sitter of Eduk, currently on a 1 minute 30.6, has a pretty decent gap over the rest of the field, but let's see what he can do in these final few corners. Ooh, goes really wide at the penultimate corner and will invalidate his lap. Unfortunate for him. Dirtim and Storm are not going to be able to challenge him in the rest of this qualifying session. I think there's an AlphaTauri about to cross the line. That's going to be Alex, currently 16th. He improves by 2.5 tenths, but I think he was invalid as well. One of the Red Bull Slayer made a mistake out of the final corner. Now this is going to be, I think that's an Aston Martin, or is that a Williams? That was Giant Bravery, Eduk's teammate. He goes into P9. A Ferrari, I think Jabbo, I want to say, improves by 3 tenths, but doesn't improve on his position. And then Cam K about to cross the line. Let's see, P5 to pole position by half a tenth of a second. There's still a few more drivers coming across the line. Ryan B is going to be the next challenger for that pole position. Goes a little bit wide through the final corner. He's going to lose quite a bit of time from that and spins across the line. Will not improve on his lap. He only was only down on his his lap by 0.2 of a second. Has crossed the line. He goes up in P13. That was Vagabonds and Energex going to P11. That'd be a pretty decent starting position for the race if it was going to be dry, but it's not going to be for his hopes. P11, most known as poor man's pole position, but Cam K is on the rich man's pole position, if you will. He's going to be in P1, and Killer's Instincts looking pretty decent already for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a very interesting situation. The two Mercedes were going through that last section, and pretty much for the whole lap, back to back. I thought Jordan was giving Ryan slipstream, but I think they only just got over the line. I think that could have been very close to pole, actually, for Ryan if he didn't mess up. But I like seeing someone from that far back come through the field.
Yeah, so it's going to be Cam K on his home circuit, taking pole position here on a 1:30.603. Eduk is going to be the second driver on the front row. Dirtim and Storm will take the second row. Ryan B. Poles on the third row. Mr. Wilder, Major Falcon, MCR, and Giant Bravery will round out the rest of the top 10. NL Energetics are Ariel, Jordan, Vagabond, Slayer, Mick Dutchface, Alex, Jabbo, Iverburn, Mike, the rest of the drivers who set times. Marty crashed out very early on in qualifying, and TRT James had a spin and was disqualified from qualifying. So that is the order when we hit into what I believe is going to be. Ooh, it's raining quite heavily, I must point out. But it's going to be interesting who's going to be able to brave the conditions for all 28 laps of this race.
This is going to be a battle of attrition. I don't know how many people have done like a lot of wet practice, even like at any track this early in the game. So,
I don't think I've driven a wet at any track, if I'm going to be completely honest.
It feels quite different to the last game. I've done a little bit. It's better in slow speed corners. You don't kind of skid. You don't get that feeling of skidding more, but you have to respect the high speed corners perhaps even more than the last game. So it's going to be tough. I think I'd be surprised if there wasn't one or two safety cars. And I'll tell you another thing is that how do you do the fuel?
Oh yeah.
I don't know how fuel is affected in wet conditions. I could not tell you. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be whoever, I would imagine, unless they've done hours in like absolute amounts of wet practice. As you can see, full wet tires for, I'm guessing, the entire field. Once we do pull it up, yeah, it's going to be the full wet tires for everybody on the grid. But yeah, I would imagine it's going to be whoever guesses and gets it right is going to be in the top 5 in this race. I don't even know if they'll win. I'm sure it's going to be, it's going to be whoever takes the gamble and gets it right or gets lucky. So it's going to be very, very, very difficult to predict. Like, we could have Cam K who just runs away up at the front of the field, or we could have an absolute masterclass from someone like James, Marty, Jabbo, all the drivers that you mentioned earlier on in the stream who have that experience of racing in more competitive tiers and divisions and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see, and it's really, it's going to be whoever gets lucky with safety cars, with VSCs, with almost everything, especially when it comes to these conditions. So it's going to be very, very difficult to predict, as Eduk almost crashed coming out of the hairpin onto the back straight.
They're getting a move on up the front. I feel like what this requires, this race now, is giant bravery. And there's a man in 10th called Giant Bravery, so he's got a lot to live up to. Maybe this is a premonition of his. Maybe this is his moment. Someone is going to podium that we probably can't predict. So why don't we do that? Why don't we just suggest someone in the bottom 10 is going to get a podium? That's my prediction, and I'm going to just go with McDutchface. I don't know why.
All right, I can respect that. We had a spinner. It was MCR. So. MCR off in the grass just a little bit there. Let me turn off my ringer real quick. Well, if you're going to predict someone in the bottom 10 to get a podium, I might as well take my stab in the dark as well. I want to say Jordan, just because he is pretty experienced, and I'm sure he's raced quite a bit in the wet. I think in Division 4 we had like 4 or 5 wet qualifyings in like 6 races right at the beginning of the season last season. So obviously new game. It's going to be a new feeling. And a bunch of different new drivers here in Division 4 once again. But I'm going to say Jordan as my prediction for a bottom 10 podium. And then Ryan B as well for a decent result. Yeah, but anyways, full wet conditions here in the United States of America at the Circuit of the Americas. Just waiting for James to slot into his grid slot, and now he has in the number 38 Haas. But it's going to be Cam K in the McLaren on the front row, on pole position at his home circuit as the lights come on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. Oh, Cam K jumped the start. That's going to be a drive-through for him and already throwing his pole position away. So it's going to be Eduk who's relatively in a nappy one. We already have 4 wide going up to turn 1, possibly 5 wide. Giant Bravery sending it up the inside really late on the brakes there in the Williams. A lot of drivers are going to get squeezed out there on the exit of turn 1. But Cam K's off into the distance with that drive-through penalty. And Eduk is not going to be leading the rest of the field on the charge. Just waiting for Cam K to serve his drive-through penalty. Already taking pretty safe. The gap was up to 1.3 seconds. But Eduk has already closed it down. They're starting to close it down. We have a lot of drivers side by side down at the back of the field. I think Iverburn Mike has made up a few positions. Him and Marty going side by side. They're into turn 7. The McLaren is just going to slot in front of the Ferrari. It's going to be very difficult to judge where you are compared to the other cars, especially right at the beginning when all the spray and all the cars are right packed next to each other. Jordan is already on the back of MCR, possibly looking to make a move. Oh, we have a spinner. Marty's out. Marty's out. And that was on the exit of turn 10, and we have a virtual safety car already. So Cam K will have to be careful if this VSC lasts too long. You can't serve your drive-through under virtual safety car. I've learned from experience, trust me. So he'll have to wait until this virtual safety car is until it is gone. So he's in P1 right now, but with that drive-through, he's going to go all the way down to the back of the field. There's going to be, I would imagine, well, we could check the leader gap right now. 16 seconds separates the field. He's going to have like a 10 second gap to the guys in front of him, and then he's going to have to pass all of them if he wants to get back up to the front. So it's going to be a very difficult afternoon, or, well, yeah, afternoon, I guess, if you're in America, for Cam K now.
It is, and Giant Bravery, showing Giant Bravery up into 6th place. TRT James as well, obviously making up 4 places too, with Paletti Alex and a few others.
Oh, Eduk with the drive-through as well, and a lot of other drivers. Who is that? Iverburn Mike, James, McDutch Face, Bag of Bones, Energetics, Eduk, and Cam K, all with drive-through penalties. Eduk will lead them across, or no, he won't. Did he go into the pits? No, I don't think he did. I think that's just the timing messing up. But yeah, Eduk leads them across the line. I think, well, Ivor, we had Energetics. We had a few other drivers in the pit lane serving their drive-thrus now. So, yeah, that's quite intriguing, I must say. But, yeah.
Eduk's round. He's lost it. He's lost it out of the first corner. Ryan has to run, Tim has to run wide. And that will be Eduk. Really in bother now because he's not even leading the race. He's having to switch the car around, and he is in a very bad spot. But is that again? You know, I don't want to speculate too much, but that could be a glitch. You know, how many people have missed that? That seems very strange to me. But
I've seen it before. I was actually a victim of it last season, but yeah, I think it was 6 people who got drive-thrus at one point after a VSC in China last season. But yeah, it's quite the spectacle when something like that does happen, as we just had it now. So James, Iverburn Mike, McDutchface, Bagabouts, Energetics, Jabbo, Eduk, and Cam K. Cam K has a little bit of a gap on the rest of the field. He's closing down on Slayer right now with a few moves. MCR versus Jordan. We have a little bit of contact just in front of him is Aston Martin off the road sideways. That was Storm. Jordan trying to make made his way past MCR there. Ooh, Storm and Jordan going side by side through the 3rd sector, through turn 14 just now. The Aston Martin's going to be on the outside for turn 15, and I think Jordan just will have that move, taking advantage of a mistake. There is Jordan. He's already up into P7 from P12. He's made up 5 positions already in this race, so looking pretty decent, but so is Ryan B. Ryan B's up to 2nd as well with all the drive-thrus that came through, and Dirtim is up into the lead of this race. We have a spinner, yellow flag. We had contact between Slayer and Cam K. There must have been an incident there. Did you catch it?
No, I didn't. I did see, I think it was Mr. Vuta who went deep on his teammate. I think Storm might even have floor damage because he went right in deep. And no, the back of the field is really struggling, and it just gets from bad to worse for Kamkay, really.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one. From pole position to drive through to P15 in an incident already very early on in this race. He didn't even complete 2 laps before all those things happened, as Educt is coming through the pits right now. But the Delta on the left side will glitch up a little bit. Just have to wait for these drivers, I'd imagine, to come across the line once again, and then we will get our deltas back. But Ryan B is trying to challenge Dirtim up at the front of the field. He's already looking pretty decent. He's staying with him quite well, but staying with the driver and then overtaking in the wet conditions, especially at USA with no DRS, is going to be very, very difficult. Giant Bravery just a little bit further back. 1.2 seconds is the gap for Giant Bravery to the top 2. So yeah, you can see already a few tiny gaps in the top train of the top 10.
As we have a Sauber around, well, sorry, an Alfa Romeo, which is energetics. It's going to be a battle of attrition. I feel like even if your back where energetics is right now, don't stress. Keep on the same lead lap. Wait, there will be an SE at some point, I'm almost certain. Just keep going. And I feel like at the moment, Ryan is doing really well to stay to London Tim, and at the moment it seems to be them two are in the class of their own a little bit.
Yeah, they already pulled half a second away from Giant Bravery on this lap, so Giant Bravery slotting into a pretty decent third place. We have yellow flag down at the back. I think that was Slayer, who does have front wing damage on that right. He's missing his right end plate on the front wing of his Red Bull. Dirt Tim, Ryan B, all setting fastest laps. Energetics has spun again at turn 12, possibly rear locking, just having a little bit of a spin there. But yeah, you can see already the drivers who had to make that, had to serve their drive-through penalties as Energetics spins once again. All those drivers are super spread out. Jabo, you can see just coming through the final corner, so all over the road. So it's going to be very difficult for these drivers to keep it on the track. We're only on lap 4, and we've had so many incidents in this one already. No penalties quite yet, but looking up at the front of the field, Dirtim and Ryan B, as actually Giant Bravery has closed in 7/10 of a second since we last checked in with this lead battle. So Giant Bravery looking really good through that first sector, but maybe struggling a little bit through the second half of the lap.
Yeah, maybe he's running deeper wings than the guys ahead, and I think what I find interesting is Major Falcon is getting held up from Mr. Vuto. I think he could join this crowd as Mr. Vuto gets a real big wiggle on. Major Falcon will be putting everything into this. He's using overtake. He looks to be running slightly lower wings, and he should be able to get this done, provided Mr. Vuto gives him a little bit of respect. Done by the looks of it, but then he gets the run on the next corner, but Mr. Vart is more concerned about getting to the end of the race, which, to be fair, as it's standing, is probably not a bad shout.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Alex in behind all of these guys, just behind. The two Aston Martins going side by side through turn 15 there, heading through the triple right-hander now. Mr. Wilder falling behind his teammate is actually Dirt Tim. Dirt Tim, I think, has made a little bit of a mistake or is lagging or something. I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
Yeah, he's dropped back. He's dropped back behind Ryan. I think he must have lost it out of turn 19. And Giant Bravery now, fastest lap of the race. What a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, definitely. 1.2 seconds now behind the leader, who is going to be Ryan B. But now Ryan B has that clean air. He already looked good in the dirty air following another car, so possibly going to be able to pull away here. I think Dirt Tim is actually dropped because his car is ghosted still. He must, unless he's in like AI or something, but I think he just dropped from the session, so unfortunate there for the AlphaTauri driver who was leading this race, but isn't anymore. So now we have a little bit of an opportunity for some of the rest of these drivers. Pole now up into a podium position. So, yeah, a few drivers already looking pretty decent. But Major Falcon now, after making his way past Mr. Wilder, who's now behind the other Aston Martin of Storm, has to really get a move on now, especially with Dirt Tim dropping out of the session. He has to try and take advantage of this and then try and get onto the back of Poles. It was around 3.4 seconds is the gap now to Poles for Major Falcon, so he has quite the gap to make up, but I think he can do it. I'm not entirely sure, it might just be my eyes, but I think the rain is starting to lighten up just ever so slightly.
It doesn't seem as heavy. It'd be interesting if it can, and also the sky seems quite bright, so I do wonder if this is going to go inters at some point, and if it does, at what point do people kind of switch over? How long do these wet's last. I've genuinely no idea. Like, can you go early? Can you undercut? Does it work? Is it worth it? You know, there's so many questions for this one. I don't think anyone knows the answers, but there's a lot of opportunity for gamble.
Yeah, definitely. We already have one driver who's pitted onto the inters, Bagabones, who did pick up one of those. Ooh, Giant Bravery with 3-second time penalty. That's going to hinder him later on in this race. But Bagabones and McDutchface and Edux still battling as well through the final sector. These two have been battling since turn 11 up at the top of the hairpin, or up at the top of the back straight. McDutchface getting a little bit of a switchback. Dirtim is actually into the pit. That must be the AI talking. Let's see what the AI is going to do. Is it going to go on inters? Is it going to go on another set of full wets? It's going to be inters for the Alpha Tower driver. Bag of Bones is the other driver who I was just about to talk about before we had the battle between the Red Bull and the Alpine, who are still battling, by the way. I think actually some of the drivers are actually coming into the pits for inters right now. MCR and Alex were battling away, but Bag of Bones was the pioneer as Dirtim does join back to the lobby. But Bag of Bones was the pioneer for this one. He was on the inters already as James picks up a second 3-second time penalty. So yeah, Bag of Bones just starting his second flying lap, I would have to imagine, unless this is going to be his first flying lap on those intermediate tires. On to lap 6 for him. So a few other drivers are following in his footsteps, especially the AI of Dirtim, as Mr. Water and Jordan are going to battle just a little bit. Where's Jordan come from? I can't, unless I'm already lost in the order of this race. So many things have switched up already. It's very, very confusing. As Jabbo and Dirtim battling as well. Well, that's Dirtim's AI, who's actually joined back now. So I'm sure he's finding himself in an interesting position from leading the race to now battling for 10th place on a fresh set of intermediates. So it's going to be a long afternoon for him as Slayer picks up a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line on mediums. And is in the wall and loses his front wing.
Yeah, that's not the play. As now, I tell you what, does London Tim get? Oh no, London Tim's been round. As has Jabbo, I think. Maybe Jabbo. They both got past there by Edok, and I wonder if perhaps Jabbo didn't realise that Tim had joined back. This is tragic because this put him in a good spot, you know, for a DSC. It's about as good of a spot as you can hope for, going on to the best tyre. And he's now going to come out very much behind these guys, such as Ryan. Quite far, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But Giant Bravery did set fastest lap on the previous lap, going on to lap 7. So it's drying up a little bit. The full wets are getting faster, and as I mentioned before, Bag of Bones, pioneer of the intermediates, fastest lap of the race, 148.7. I think that was. Didn't quite catch it, but he's in P11 right now. He's already he's past McDutchface, he's past Eduk, he's past Camke, he's past all these other drivers. There's a Ferrari coming out of the pit lane just now, and that is Jabbo. So yeah, Bag of Bones is actually throwing himself into a pretty decent position here. Dirtim, Ryan B is the highest driver on the intermediate tires, has a 12.6 second lead on the next intermediate runner, so he's in a really good position. Alex making his way past Ariel Jordan, and now Ryan B is going to be on the back of these guys, but it'd be difficult to imagine all the drivers on the wet tires not coming in this lap.
Yeah, 100%. Jordan just lost out on the traction out of there, and Alex got him back, and now Ryan is already onto the back of these guys, so there's a big discrepancy here. Ryan has come out absolutely miles clear, but then we obviously have Giant Bravery, who I think is losing a lot of time, if I'm being honest, by the looks of this.
He's not coming in.
Stays out.
Interesting call.
Maybe there's a wrinkle here. Maybe it's going to get wetter. Maybe it's getting super dry super quick, but it's never a good idea to say on that. Maybe it's going to get wetter, and this is the confusion that some of these guys have.
Yeah, well, 4 out of the 6 full wet runners are into the pit lane now, including Slayer, who is on the mediums and is getting his front wing changed in, serving a 5-second time penalty. So Ryan B is now up into 3rd place, and he's right behind Alex, who's 14.2 seconds behind the race leader. So Ryan B is in a net lead now. Poldypol's possibly in a net second, maybe, just maybe, because those intermediates are going to be so much faster. Vagabond's another fastest lap of the race, 48 flat, 7/10 faster than last lap. So Vagabonds is flying down, well, towards the middle of the field, 3.5 seconds behind Ariel Jordan, who was just in front of Ryan B when he came into the pit lane. So if Ryan B makes another pit stop, Vagabonds is right in this. Alex and Ryan B.
Alex lost it as we have a spinner, which is TRT James is out, and that is another VSC. But Alex was holding up Ryan B so much there, and that cost Ryan a lot of time. But he will still comfortably come out ahead. But Polderpols is losing has lost time to Giant Bravery, so it's very confusing.
Yeah, very, very confusing, I must admit. But, you know, if this VSC stays out long enough, Giant Bravery could get a free pit stop here. Well, not free, but he could get the race lead.
He could. If I'm him, I get why he's gambling, but you might as well not gamble when this opportunity presents itself, unless it's literally coming.
You have to pit. Yep, he's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was any way he was staying out there. Almost looked a little bit questionable there on the pit entry. But yeah, Alex gets a drive-through. I was about to say he has to come in if the VSC stays out any longer. But Giant Bravery, he was in the pit lane for only a little bit once that VSC came out. So he only gained a little bit of time. So Ryan B should take the race lead. Alex is going to be in, but he's going to be serving that drive-through, I would have to imagine, unless there's going to be AlphaTauri mechanics out in the pit lane. But I don't think so. So Ryan B will take the race lead, but it's going to be a lot smaller, his race lead, than he would have hoped. It's going to be around 2.5 seconds once Giant Bravery gets up to speed. 2.6 maybe. So Ryan B leads this race. Giant Bravery has a 3-second time penalty, but is only behind him by 2.4 seconds, but only has that one lap tire advantage. So it's going to be quite close up at the front of the field. But once again, it's only lap 9 of 28 here, so we're still very early doors.
Alex came in to serve his drive-through, which I think is quite smart. So he's still on those wets. He got a drive-through on the VSC. And he was able to serve it, so as smart as it is, he's dropping back and he's going to be pretty much out of contention at this point, but he's in a world of pain as Jordan now needs to desperately get past, or he's going to lose a lot of time to MCR. He needs to he sends it out the inside, which I think is a great move, to be fair, because Alex shouldn't fight this too much, and yeah, that's that. So good move by Jordan, aggressive where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely. Taking advantage of his opportunity there. Jabo has a little bit of a spin up at the top of the hill at turn 9, I think it is. Had to think a little bit for that one. But yeah, Ryan B and Giant Bravery. Giant Bravery is already showing a pretty decent pace in this one already. He's closed in half a second on Ryan B. Ryan B possibly making a mistake somewhere, because obviously you can see it's still quite wet out on track, and it's still raining. So the track will be either... well, maybe getting a little bit more wet. But yeah, Polderpols as actually Ryan B sets fastest lap for the race, and Ryan B, Giant Bravery just came out of the pits on this one, and then Polderpols sets fastest lap by 1/10, and then Major Falcon. So all these drivers you can see are going a little bit faster than each other. A 10th of an improvement for these for the last 3 drivers. So. Yeah, Ryan B leads. Giant Bravery sticking with him. Polderpols of an outside chance of possibly catching these guys. And then Major Falcon, Dirtim, Storm, Mr. Wooter, MCR, Ariel Jordan, Edok, who just sat fastest lap of the race. Alex is finally in for that fresh set of intermediate tires. And then Vagabonds, the pioneer. I don't know if we can give him that nickname, but the pioneer of the intermediate tires. He's up to P11 now and is in the point scoring positions.
I wonder if they can go to the end. I wonder if they need to do a 2-stop. That's what intrigues me, and I'm keeping a close eye on Camke, because Camke seems to have a lot of natural pace in the wet. He's proven that today, and he's kind of considering the lack of fortune he's had, to be only 30 seconds off the lead, which is roughly what he is. He's fairly good going. I could still see him having some legs in this, getting a top 5 or 6, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. As Iverman Mike picks up a time penalty, and I think he's actually spun and has broken his front wing at turn 1, so that's what that 3-second time penalty would be for. What's the word for it? It's kicking a man while he's down, let's say. So, yeah, Ivor down in 17th, not having the greatest of weeks after scoring points last time out. But Ryan B still leading. Giant Bravery isn't exactly closing him down. Only he doesn't have that much of a tire advantage nor disadvantage. So, yeah, Giant Bravery looking pretty decent. Doesn't set fastest lap, though. 46 flat. For Giant Bravery, and Ryan B 46 flat as well. So these two are pretty even up at the front of the field. I think Poldy Poles must have made a mistake because that gap was just around 3.5 seconds and it extended by a second on this lap. So yeah, so driver's not entirely consistent quite yet, but I'm sure they'll find their feet eventually on these intermediate tires. Obviously, some of them have only been on their tires for 3-4 laps as Eduk sets fastest lap of the race now in P10. So yeah, you can, if you just skip around the field, you can see drivers are still having to correct the cars quite aggressively just to get it through some of the corners. Kamke having almost a double front lock up there into turn 1, just falling in behind Vagabonds. Is seemingly struggling to get past the Haas driver now, and I think Vagabonds is going to be starting to slightly hold up Kamke on his charge up the field. So yeah, as we were going on about in qualifying, it's going to be very difficult to overtake another car unless you have a massive pace advantage.
This is it, unless you and you're running drastically lower wings and you have that pace advantage too, because no point running lower wings if you're not quicker. But Kamke is really onto the back. I think this is quite big for Kamke's race because there's a big bunch of fresh air between Afterbones, and if he can just get a run here, it could make his race. Doesn't seem to me to be. He's gonna have a look, but he's locking up badly. But yeah, not quite right, and he's gonna have to probably wait now for another lap.
He's trying to send it around the outside though. At turn 13 through turn 14 now. As Giant Bravery sets fastest lap, has actually closed the gap down to 1.4 seconds, but Kamke's going up the inside of turn 15. A little bit of contact on the front tires between the McLaren and the Haas driver, but Vagabonds is going to have to yield unless that was an illegal overtake. Kamke just being sure, is actually McDutchface is now trying to get involved in this one as well. Kamke just being safe, just in case, you know, stewards looking at that. But yeah, he gave back the position to Vagabonds, but now he's going to have to go again on the back straight, but he's going to have to close up a lot closer than he was. Coming off that hairpin at turn 11, he was around 0.3 of a second. You'd expect to be able to overtake from that distance, but he just wasn't quite able to because Vagabonds has an ERS advantage. He's currently at 88%, Kamke at 60%. So Vagabonds is conserving his ERS quite well. So he has such a much bigger advantage in terms of ERS that he can just defend and then just take the more optimal line and just be able to defend from Kamke and hold all these guys back. So you can already see the gap has extended to 8.8 seconds now from Vagabonds to Eduk.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I think Kamke's dive was great, and I think Bones kind of turned into him. And unless the game asked Kamke to give it back, I don't know what he did necessarily. I feel like that was on Bones, to be honest. But what it's done is bring McDutchface in. Now, if I'm Bones, I'm wondering, I'm thinking here, do we have the pace advantage on the guys ahead? I would say yes, collectively, with him, McDutchface and Kamke. Why not let Kamke go through? Try and catch these guys. It seems like he's resigning himself to battle for 11th at this point.
Yeah, possibly not thinking he can follow Kamke through, or follow Kamke and get up to the back of the rest of these guys. He has a few drivers that are pretty quick in behind him, or at least seem pretty quick. Kamke and McDutchface are really right on the back of that Haas, but Giant Bravery is now closing in on the race leader as well. That 3-second penalty is really is going to hurt him later on in this race. Lap 13 now for the race leaders. The gap is just about a second, so just on the edge of dirty air here, coming through the first sector. There's a yellow flag. Ooh, Red Bull. Slayer has had a spin just before the penultimate corner. He is a lap down, so yeah, unfortunate there for him, as well as Ivor and Mike. The only two drivers who have been lapped in this race so far. So, yeah, quite a few gaps that are closer than I would expect. Giant Bravery trying to get on the back of Ryan B. I don't think he'll be anywhere near close enough, considering the amount of ERS that both of them have. Other close gaps, Storm on the back of Dirk Tim, possibly looking to make a move on this lap. Eduk on the back of Jordan. He's really close, actually, heading up through turn 9, possibly. Ooh, Eduk has a big snap.
Keeps out of the wall. fair play. Well done to keep that out of the wall. And he lives to fight another day, and realistically he'll probably be able to catch up to the back of Jordan. But that's kind of made his race, and whatever happens now is a bit of a bonus. But what it does is bring Bag of Bones and Camke back into it. You know, they're now kind of catching on to the back of this field alongside McDutchface.
Yeah, Bag of Bones possibly finding a little bit of a rhythm here. Camke gave him a little bit of a scare, but now he's looks to be on a little bit of a rhythm, but Camke looking to go up the inside. I don't think he's quite close enough. He's going to send it. He's late on the brakes into turn 12, but he's not quite late enough. Bag of Bones, I think, is going to cover this off. Camke tries to do the same move we did a lap or two ago. He's just not going to be quite able to pull this off unless he's able to dive it once again into the double left, into turn 15. Not quite close enough. Bag of Bones is able to defend it for the time being, but now they're losing so much time. 7.8 seconds. Bag of Bones, the gap has increased by a second since Camke has tried to aggress onto Bag of Bones. So, yeah, Camke possibly just losing them a little bit of time, but I think Camke knows that if he's able to get past, he can close down these guys in front of him a lot quicker than Bag of Bones is doing at this, doing it right now onto the front straight. And Bag of Bones has a little bit of a better exit, uses his ERS. He was up almost to 100%. Camke down to 40. Bag of Bones looks to the, will go to the inside just a little bit. Camke looks to the inside, but not quite close enough. Ooh, almost contact. Almost into the side pod of the Haas driver there, but now Bag of Bones, he's holding these guys back, and Camke can't quite find his way through yet.
As we have a bit of a battle for the lead here, which I find really intriguing, because I think Giant Bravery has well, he's been using a bit more ERS, and Ryan does need to keep him behind here, because I feel like Giant Bravery could probably gap him. He needs to keep him behind as many laps as possible.
Ooh, Giant Bravery with a little bit of a slide, but able to keep it on track for the time being. But Edok is closed up right back up to the back of Jordan after that mistake through turn 9. He's looking into turn 12. He looks to the outside, but brakes early. Doesn't want to. He's actually forced Jordan into a little bit of a mistake there. Jordan has braked way too late going into the hairpin. Now into the third sector. Edok has now made his way past, has the Williams driver. Now he has the Alpine of MCR in front of him. So Edok, Camke, Giant Bravery, all drivers that are looking to pressure drivers in front of him and are doing pretty decently well. Camke, unfortunately, not quite yet. But I'm sure he'll be able to make his way past soon enough. Lap 15 going on to lap 16. Lap 14 going on to lap 15 now for the race leaders. Just heading through the first sector through turn 3 now. And that gap has opened up just a little bit, but Giant Bravery seemingly taking his time, even with that 3-second time penalty, not stressing too much about it quite yet. And Edok, through the final corner, I switched on board with him, picked up a 3-second time penalty, and had quite the slide, I must say.
Yeah, tough for him. Really good move from him. Jordan kind of did the Bottas, defended the inside line for overly, and then ran wide, and it was easy for Edok. If Edok can get past MCR, I feel like that 3-second time pen might not make much difference to his race. I feel like he can gap these guys behind, but he's got to get past him, and he's getting impatient. Look, you know, he's run wide there. That's cost him, and Jordan is going to get a natural line and a natural run through this corner. He should be able to get alongside going into this apex. Ooh, but he seemed to back out a tiny bit and not going to quite work. So Edok lives to fight another day.
Yeah, Edok is seemingly overdriving the car just a little bit, getting impatient, as you mentioned, that he's just not able to quite make these moves as Jabo picks up a, I think that is the second 3-second time penalty, if I'm not mistaken. But Jordan, Edok, P9 now. We know he has the pace to close up to the back of MCR, but he's just not quite able to make the overtake. Camke, Bag of Bones are side by side now into turn 12. Camke's up the inside alongside a lot more significantly than he has been in the past, and is actually side by side for this time. Going into turn 13, a little bit of contact between the two cars, but the McLaren driver is now off and into the now be released and will be off and into the distance. I'm sure trying to get as far away from Bag of Bones as possible. That gap is already 0.7 of a second in McDutchface. Is now going to be the next driver possibly looking to make a move, but Camke, he's already extended that gap over a second, so you can see the pace that he has. The gap to Jordan was 6.6 seconds. It's already come down by a second. Camke absolutely flying after making that move, and that's what we were saying. If he's able to get that move past Bag of Bones, going into what will be lap 16 now for him, so he has 13 laps left to make up positions and get up higher in this race. He had to get past Bag of Bones, and now possibly will pick up a little bit of momentum once he gets up to Jordan, Edok, MCR, and all those drivers in front of him.
was McDutchface has a look, and Vagabones flinched a bit, and then McDutchface went, okay, I'll carry on. And he's, oh, what a weird place to try a switchback. McDutchface is desperate to get past it, and I don't blame him. Ooh, backs. Okay, gets away with that. That's interesting. Note that one down for later. But Giant Bravery now all over the back of Ryan, as he's gonna not go for a move into the tight, twisty section that comes just at the beginning of sector 3, and yeah, Ryan doing a stellar job of keeping it behind.
Oh, and I think Bagbones must have made a mistake up through turn 9 because McDutchface has actually made his way past. But yeah, Bagbones' tires only a little bit older, only that one lap as McDutchface will go over to the left side of the circuit now, kind of towards the middle, as I think Jabbo's had a little bit of a spin. I'm not entirely sure if he's lost or picked up any damage. I don't think he has, at least nothing visible. Edok picks up a second 3-second time penalty. He's getting impatient once again up behind MCR for that 8th position. I think he has 6 seconds now. Yes, he does. Ooh, a little bit of contact right, almost touching the gearbox there of the Alpine in front of him, and now that gap opens up just a little bit more. So you can see he's impatient. He's overdriving the car. He's trying to force things that aren't coming to him. Very wide, very lucky to keep to still be going in this race after all the massive slides that we've seen him have. Yeah, Edok lucky to be still in this race. I'd have to imagine is actually Kim K. Or Jordan's into the pits.
Wow. Okay, this is interesting. So this is clearly a 2-stop, but can anyone make?
Oh, he's front wing damage as well. Maybe he had a spin or something like that.
But Bones has come in, and I don't think Bones has damaged, is it?
No.
No. He's the innovator, the pioneer, whatever you want to call him. He's doing the 2-stop. Will anyone try the 1-stop? Is it feasible? Is it possible?
I'm not entirely sure. Giant Bravery is the driver with the youngest tires out of the field. Besides Alex, but out of the drivers who aren't going to be, or who have not already made their pit stops, Giant Bravery getting really close into turn 15 onto the back of Ryan B. But yeah, Giant Bravery is the closest person I would imagine who's able to pull off the 1-stop, besides Alex, who had some unfortunate luck with a drive-through and unable to switch his tires. Maybe
I tell you who is close is Edok. Edok and MCR taking it to the streets again, and MCR kind of trying to push Edok wide. This is so tense for both of these. MCR knows he can't let him through. Edok's got the inside line, he gives him the outside room, but doing that caused his car to have a bit of oversteer. He's going to try the switchback line through this corner. It's not going to work, I don't think, because you have to lift off, because you can't switch back on that line, and MCR stays ahead again.
Yeah, but talking about an Alpine, the other Alpine, Major Falcon, who hasn't really been talked about much in this race, is into the pit lane to get another fresh set of intermediate tires. And actually, Edok has made his way past MCR. MCR must have made a mistake through that final corner when I wasn't looking. And Edok is going to be up into what is now P7 on track. But he does have that 6 seconds of time penalties, and he has a 10.5 second, 10.7. Ooh, battle for the lead, though. Switch back into the hairpin. Ryan B getting the switchback on Giant Bravery. We'll try and put the traction down, but now it's going to be an ERS battle down towards turn 12. It's going to be the Williams versus the Mercedes. The Williams is in the slipstream of the Mercedes, possibly Imola 2021 happening all over again, but the Williams is around the outside. The Mercedes, Ryan B trying to defend his position on the inside of the hairpin. Giant Bravery's going to have the inside line for turn 13, and I think he's just going to have this one but done, but Ryan B swooping around the outside, unable to get the room on the outside, but just able to keep his nose in there, and up the inside of turn 15, I think is going to be able to defend this position for the time being. Great racing between these two drivers, but even better defending from Ryan B. He's able to keep the race lead for the time being because he knows if Giant Bravery does make that move past him, he will most likely have the pace advantage. Even with that 3-second time penalty, I don't think, as actually Giant Bravery's now in, going to possibly try the undercut. Oh, he spins! No. Is that wing damage? I wouldn't think so. It's quite a light tap, but
see, someone's just pit, and I don't understand why. Pole to Pole's just pit. He's got a 9-second gap either side. Why not stay out on those older tyres, hope for an SC, and you'd be golden. you've got a free stop, and you might even go into the lead of the race. I feel like that was a very strange pit stop. He had a massive gap either side, and he's the only one really with the pleasure of it, other than probably McDutchface.
Yeah, just as you were talking there, just watch Giant Bravery. Had to get a wing change, so that's going to be quite a bit of time that he has lost to Ryan B. So Ryan B now can pit. He would come out around Mr. Wooter, Wouter, same thing. He'd come out around there, I'd imagine. So he does have technically a free pit stop whenever the two Aston Martins and this Alpha Tower decide to come into the pit lane decide to come into the pit lane. I think they all have to pit because Alex, who's on 8 lap old intermediates, has just come into the pit lane going on to lap number 19 for him. So, yeah, doesn't quite have the confidence. Cam K, all these drivers really, Major Falcon, Poldypol's Giant Bravery, all these guys have fresh tires, so now they're going to be trying to, make up that advantage. And Giant Bravery is going to have a huge task to try and undercut Ryan B. But I think this the Mercedes driver, who's now looking at he's favorable now for the race victory. I think he's going to be into the pit lane on this lap, I'd have to imagine.
I feel like perfectly acceptable to pit, yeah. But he also could have stayed out potentially and just waited until Tim, Storm and Ruta pit with the gap to Giant Bravery. But I think it's fine in his spot. But Polderpose did shock me actually. If there is an SC, someone's going to benefit. Someone who stays out will benefit. Just depends on whether it's the right risk reward. You know, if you stay out and it doesn't work, you're going to drop a lot of places. Just depends on how many points that means to you.
Yeah, Ryan B just coming out of the pit lane now is going to be just in front of Dirt Tim, so possibly the right decision here for Ryan B. He's actually going to be out in the race lead, so he had a full race lead over Dirt Tim. I was pretty wrong about my guess of where he would come out if he did come into the pit lane, but now he has fresh tires, and he has such a massive gap over the next driver who pit, who is Giant Bravery, who has a 2.7 second gap over Poldypol. So Ryan B is now he has to be the elect for the race winner. There's no one else you could really choose. Maybe Giant Bravery, if he picks up the pace, he'd have to be absolutely flying if he wants to catch him. But Ryan B, as long as he keeps it on the track, no penalties, I think he's going to win this race now.
Yeah, I think his only rivals are Dirt Tim, Storm and Vuta, and that's assuming, well, actually, no, even an SC. Ryan's not going to pit, you know, so he's going to stay out. So actually, yeah, I can't see a universe, maybe Polderpose with an SC. That's about it. Like, I think it's as simple as that. Everyone else is just too far back, so...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the only thing that I would imagine, unless from personal mistake, would influence this race and make it that to where Ryan B wouldn't be able to win this is that safety car. It would have to be a full safety car, and we're almost running out of time for full safety cars to come out now as well. So leading this race, 1.5 seconds is the Mercedes driver, finished second last time out, and looking on for a race victory here in USA. So 2 podiums in a row, looking really strong already for the start of this season is Ryan B, and possibly throwing himself as an early championship contender, but looking just a little bit lower down through the field. Cam K has made a pit stop. Giant Bravery fastest lap of the race, a 45.3. So, yeah, trying to fly up towards the race leader, but I don't think he's going to be able to catch him. You have yellow flag. I think that's Ivor, who's retired in the pit lane after a pretty difficult and disappointing race so far. So we now have 4 drivers out of this race. But looking at Cam K in MCR, I think he might. I think he's going to be able to get past him up here in turn 1. Both fresh intermediates for both these drivers. Actually, we've had a spinner, and that's Dirt Tim.
Wow, that's a huge moment. I was going to say with Giant Bravery, he's in a spot here because if those guys try to go to the end, he's got to gap them too. You know, it's all well and good being on the fresh tyres, but this is turning into a bit of a nightmare for him. But that's one problem down in the shape of Dirt Tim, who's really going to be gutted. He would have felt like he was on for a top 5 there. He's up with another pen. I think that might be 9 seconds, but he's gapping. He's not gapping Cam K, that's his problem. He might well gap MCR, but it might not cost him that much.
Yeah, I don't. I would imagine it cost them one, maybe two positions as Giant Bravery sets purple second sector for what should be the second lap in a row. And he's closing down on Mr. Wooter now, so he's just almost within dirty air range. So he's going to be catching him on the next lap, you'd have to imagine. So as actually, yeah, it's starting to clear up just a little bit here in USA, or in Texas. So it's still raining. You have to remember that. The track isn't going to dry out in 3 minutes. But Ryan B sets fastest lap of the race up at the front, 3.7 second gap. I don't think there's any way Giant Bravery is going to be able to catch him. He improves by 3/10 on his previous personal best, 45 flat now for Giant Bravery, but he still has to get through two cars which aren't going to give up the positions easily. Durton comes into the pits after his spin, and Giant Bravery still has that time penalty. Poldy Pulls is just a second out of range, so I think Giant Bravery has set himself up for a pretty decent finish. Eduk 44.3 as he
Pit again, and I think the only thing that's stopping Giant Bravery really now is, Polder Pose might, even though he's a second back, yes, but he has to get past Mr. Vota. If he struggles, Polder Pose will close that gap, and it might be difficult to gap him again. Whilst getting past Mr. Vota, so, but the traction difference is crazy out of that corner, and he's going to make this live work realistically.
Yeah, Williams already sliding back over to the racing line as it's almost about to stop raining here at the Circuit of the Americas for the second round of Season 6 for Division 4. But, yeah, Giant Bravery up into P3, but now he has to make a 3-second gap to Mr. Wilder if he wants to keep that podium position. Storm looking on for a pretty decent result. I'm not entirely sure where Storm finished. We can look at positions gained if I can't find it. Positions changed. Storm's only up 2 positions, so he started P4. Ryan B started P5. He was one of my picks, if I remember. Yeah, a few drivers who have made up quite a few positions. McDutchface has had a pretty strong race. He's up 8 positions in P7 currently. May drop a few. No, never mind. Eduk, with those penalties, he won't drop any positions. So yeah, a few drivers taking advantage of the conditions and have made themselves put themselves up a few positions from the starting grid. On to lap 23 now. So not really much else going on. Eduk on the back of McDutchface, but it won't be for position in the end. And Camcan trying to get onto the back of Dirtim as Alex because of a time penalty in 15th. So, yeah, starting to boil down here to the end of this United States Grand Prix.
Absolutely. We've got Rajajon in the chat saying Eduk could lose it if he keeps driving like this, and I have to agree, running on board with him. Don saying Ryan B is always fast in the rain, and Ivor is saying that this could go dry towards the very end, which that's not what Ryan B wants, but a lot of people will want it. As McDutchface goes wide as Eduk now is going to look around the outside of this corner, a very unconventional and unorthodox place to overtaking the drive in the wet. It gives an opportunity as he nearly loses it again. It's crazy. He's going to have to try and gap McDutchface for an obscene amount. He's probably more concerned about getting away from Lunda Tim, who is now holding up Camke.
Yeah, Camke right on the back of 13, 7/10 about is the gap between that. I'm watching the battle between Giant Bravery and second place man Storm right now. Storm 14 lap old tires, McDutchface and Energetics, the two oldest sets of intermediate tires in the field. 16 laps they've done on their tires. It's going to be 17 once we go on to lap number 24. Mr. Wilder with really old tires, Storm with really old tires as well. So possibly making that one-stop work. There's an AlphaTauri spun that's Alex down at the back of the field. So Ryan B walking away from the rest of the field currently. Giant Bravery on his ERS down towards turn 1. Storm doesn't have any more ERS to use, and Giant Bravery, I think, is going to be up the inside, is going to be able to make this overtake work. Williams up the inside of the Aston Martin at turn 1. Ooh, the Aston Martin gets a little bit of a switchback, but around the outside of turn 2, it's going to be almost impossible to get that switchback done. He's able to keep it around the outside, though, but he has to back out of it going into the S's. That would have been way too dangerous to try and attempt that one. So Giant Bravery is off now into second place out on track, as Eduk has made a mistake and has let McDutchface back through out on track.
Yeah, so Giant Bravery's got a job now. He can gap 3 seconds, I feel like he's probably favourite to do so. I just want to have a big shout out to Camke, who's actually still only 34 seconds after battling through a field, which is pretty damn impressive. As Eduk he's in a way I don't know if he's got damage somewhere. Did you? I think.
I'm not entirely sure.
Do we feel like he?
Oh, he has no front wing.
I think he connected the wall out of the last corner. You know when you saw him slow up and let Ruta through. So, wow, Don called it. Sorry, Radazon called it, and yeah, it's going to be a costly moment. And Jordan, from nowhere, all of a sudden, Energetics, who spent the whole race basically nowhere, with no chance, is got a small shout of a point here. As I'm going to have to take a very quick break, but I'll be back with you in a sec.
All right. We can quickly go through the penalties as of right now. Giant Bravery has a 1.6 second gap, so he's already gotten more than half of the gap that he needs over Storm to get the second place. So kind of flying is Giant Bravery with that 3 second time penalty. The drivers with the penalties throughout the rest of the field. Eduk, who had his incident, 9 seconds of penalties. Energetics with 6. Alex and Jabba both with 3 seconds in this one. Giant Bravery, 5.5 seconds behind Ryan B. He has that 1 lap older, the 1 lap older tires, but he's kind of closing it down just a little bit. As Eduk gets out of the way of all these other drivers, and now will be down into 14th and to that bottom 4 with all 4 of them having time penalties. Energetics right on the back of Jordan. Jordan now into the points. Top 12 score points here in League of Europe. Point scoring system goes 25, 18, 15, 12, 10. Ooh, Bag of Bones with a little bit of a slide. Jordan now up into P11, so he could possibly be picking up 2 points here. We'll go over to the left side of the circuit. Energetics up into P12 out on track now with 18 lap old intermediate tires. But yeah, the point scoring system goes 25, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with 1 point for fastest lap. We can check who has said fastest lap right here. It's actually Eduk, who, since he's not finishing in the top 10 currently, or in the top 12 currently, he will not get that point for fastest lap. But I think he's going to be going out there again because he did just pit to, I'm guessing, get a new front wing. Jordan a little bit wide. Energetics possibly looking to make a move up through turn 9, as Giant Bravery has gapped Storm and now has that 3 second gap. So he's going to be in P2 right now, out on or is going to be in P2 once the race results come through. Once we finish all 28 laps of this race. A few close gaps. Energetics close to Jordan. That's the battle we were watching on board with right now. Cam K in the back of Dirt Team, who's on the back of McDutchface with those really old intermediate compounded tires. Poldy Pole's on the back of Mr. Wouter now. He's started to close in, has the Alfa Romeo driver. He's within 7/10 of a second. As Energetics is still in the back of Jordan. But Back of Boats is too close for Energetics to pick up points as of right now. So, yeah, on to lap 26 are the race leaders heading through the middle sector now is Ryan B. 4.5 second lead. Giant Bravery was able to pull out that gap now, but P2, I'm sure he would have been hoping for more, especially if he didn't pick up that wing damage when entering the pit lane and without that time penalty.
100%. I think Cam K now and Lunda Tim, this is the battle that's going to be very interesting with Dutchface on those really old inters. And Storm, I feel like, has shown that it's the right play because he was miles behind Polderpose. And yeah, if Giant Bravery would have stayed out, he'd have won this race. And probably Polderpose as well. Was Camke getting very squiggly, but if he can manage 7th here, an incredible effort.
Yeah, Camke does have the potential to make his way possibly past Dirt Tim and past McDutchess. We have to remember, Dirt Tim was leading this race. He was in the lead of this race in front of Ryan B before he dropped out of the session, unfortunately. So he could have been he could have had a shot at a possible race victory here tonight, but unfortunately with that connection, we are now on to lap 27 as Ryan B crosses the line, and it has stopped raining. The track is drying up just a little bit, but it's not going to dry out in time for the dry compound tires. Maybe if we had a safety car or two, the track would have dried out by now, but unfortunately has not. Energetics, even with those time penalties, still fighting for places out on track. 10.5 seconds in front, and he just made his way past Oriel Jordan down towards turn 12. So he's fighting for points. He's Well, at the lower end of the points positions with a few incidents earlier on in this race. Ooh, Jordan Bagabones getting very, very close was the Haas and the Mercedes there. Jordan going very wide through turn 15, and I'm sure Bagabones had a little bit of a heart attack when he saw that Mercedes coming, well, basically straight line at him on the exit there. But, yeah, starting to... the clouds are starting to open up just a little bit, and Ryan B is going to be, well, now driving off into what could be the sunset 3.5 seconds, but with that time penalty, Giant Bravery isn't going to be challenging anything.
No, and just want to spare a thought for Major Falcon. He won't have got mentioned very much tonight. He's just sat, chilling, right, absolutely nowhere, but led a very uninteresting but good race as we look at battles around us. Just behind him, on track anyway, is with Dutch Face, Lunda, Tim and Kamke, which is going to be the standout, you feel, running up into this, unless Pole to Post can get past Mr. Valter.
Yeah, definitely. Half a second between Kamke and Dirt Tim, 0.6 of a second between Dirt Tim and McDutchface. Dirt Tim unable to close up to the back of McDutchface, even with the 16-lap tire advantage, 17-lap tire advantage for Dirt Tim. Unable, you can see, when McDutchface locks up, you can see those tires are basically... They're basically slicks. If you look at them, there isn't any tread on them. Like if you ride on board and look at the tires of Dirt Tim, if he does lock up, like you can see the little tread. Ooh, he's up the inside. Turn 15, but I think that's a little bit of a farce. I don't think he's going to be able to make that overtake. But when McDutchface locks up going into these braking zones, you can see there's nothing left on those intermediate tires. So he's going to be really struggling for grip. You can just see the spray. Ooh. Yeah, really, really slidey up the penultimate corner. That's not exactly where you want to be going. You would rather be going in a straight line towards the final corner there. But Kamke, Dirt Tim, all within 0.4 of a second now. Kamke looking up the inside of Dirt Tim into the first corner. Ooh, almost contact, a little bit of contact between the McLaren and the AlphaTauri now. Kamke trying to get the traction off, but Dirt Tim has the more superior line for the exit, and will keep that position for the time being. But Kamke on this final lap now really challenging Dirt Tim and McDutchface. If McDutchface makes any more major mistakes like this, Dirt Tim and Kamke will be jumping all over the back of him. Ooh, Kamke into the back of Dirt Tim just a little bit there, unsettles his car a little bit. But Mr. Wouter now as well has closed up to his teammate.
If I'm Kamke here, I don't attack Dirt Tim. I let Dirt Tim close onto McDutchface, and I try a switchback line and get them both. You might as well now, because you're going to struggle. Unless it's this particular corner, which it could well be, this is perfect opportunity. Try a switchback line, they're going to go side by side, you could get both. This is his opportunity. If he misses this, it could well be curtains.
We do have to watch on board with this battle because it's going to be interesting. It is the final lap for these three drivers, but Ryan B has just crossed the line as Edek retires on the final lap. Oh, Kamke's up the inside. Ryan B will cross the line to win this race. Giant Bravery will follow him just in behind. Kamke around the outside of turn 13. A little bit of contact. He's going to be forced wide there, but in McDutchface will be able to keep P8 out on track, but Dirt Tim in the AlphaTauri was able to make his way through. Kamke might have another opportunity to storm Mr. Wouter. Both cross the line and pulley poles as well to finish through in the top 5. Kamke, a little bit of a lift. McDutchface really, really wide, but now into the penultimate corner. Kamke looking around the outside of the Red Bull. He's going to try it. A little bit of contact between the two drivers, but now they're going to be going side by side into the final corner. Dirt Tim will cross the line in front of him. McDutchface really, really wide at the final corner, but Kamke, I think, is going to get it. Kamke is going to be up into P7 there.
Well played. There's some stewardy stuff there. I can't give you a definitive answer as to what happened there, but that is a fantastic drive from both. They should both be pretty happy, even if they're not necessarily going to be, as Energetics loses it over the line. Bag of Bones has dropped back. Can I just say, Energetics getting a point from this race. I think Bag of Bones may have got damage at some point in that little collection, because he's dropped right back. But yeah, massive top 12, and congrats to everyone who did finish the race. But what a drive from Ryan, and you would argue Storm as well, and Mr. Valter getting up there on clearly a poor strategy in the grand scheme of things, but being able to keep Pole Deposed behind.
Yeah, Storm putting in the chat, floor damage is a killer, so possibly having floor damage and still able to put it in P3. That's quite impressive if he did have that damage. But yeah, final order we can go through right now. It's going to be, if I can pause the stream. Ryan B, Giant Bravery, and Storm all on the podium. Great drive from Ryan B, Giant Bravery, Storm, all of them. Giant Bravery will pick up driver of the day from the game. Mr. Wilder, Poldy Pulls, Major Falcon, Cam K, McDutchface, Dirt Tim, MCR, Ariel Jordan, and Energetics will pick up the points as we go through the podium celebrations now. Vagabonds, Alex, and Jabbo, the drivers who did not finish in the points but did indeed finish the race. And then Eduk, Everburn Mike, Slayer, TRT James, and Marty did not finish the race. I think Eduk will be classified because he did crash out on the final lap. But yeah, Ryan B will take the championship lead from Alt Maverick. And if my math is correct, I think he will be on 43 points heading into Spain next week.
He will indeed. I'm guessing he got the fastest lap because he had that late wing change. He did,
yes.
So, yeah, 25 points for Ryan B. Wow, just that was a genuinely crazy race. Cam K's going to be gutted coming 7th, but he shouldn't be. For me, that was one of the standout drives of the day, and one of the best drives I've actually seen in the wet from someone with all of his issues. So, for me, Cam K driver of the day, without a shadow of a doubt.
I'm going to have to say, well, yeah, Cam K, obviously, very impressive, especially with that drive-through right at the beginning. And he even got into an incident right afterwards. But I'm going to have to go with Ryan B because that's the driver I predicted to get a podium or get a good result right at the beginning. So, Ryan B, thank you for keeping me correct. But yeah, good race from, I think Giant Bravery raced last week, but he didn't finish Giant Bravery. No, 1 point last week. So able to bring home a second place. Good drive from him as well. Storm, I think picked up I think this was his first race of the season and able to pick up a podium. So yeah, good drives from all the top 3 and most of the drivers as well. But I think we now have to get all these, the top 3 into the party and we can give them a very quick interview before we head off to D2.
Yeah, hopefully someone joins. Oh, he has. It's the first time I've had the pleasure. Ryan B, well done.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, we can kick it off right away because we do have a race to get to eventually. So, Ryan B back here once again for the second week in a row. Talk us through it. You really, after Dirt Tim dropped from the lobby, kind of just had a little bit of a challenge from Giant Bravery right before the pit stops, but yeah, after that it was smooth sailing.
Yeah. 1 second. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's just take it nice and easy. Let everyone take themselves out and pick up the leftovers. That was the game. That was the game plan. I don't know what happened to Cam K on lap 1. I saw him go into the pits and that because I genuinely thought he was going to win when I saw him on pole. Because I know how quick he is in the wet. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It was just a crazy race.
It was. I mean, I suppose the one thing that is there any point that you felt a bit out of control of that race at all? Because it didn't seem that way.
No, the only thing I was worried about was when Giant Bravery pitted for the second set of inters. I didn't know I'm assuming he had damage because he dropped off quite a bit in that pit stop. That's the only thing that worried me because I was contemplating going to the end on the same set that the first set of inters. But no, other than that, smooth sailing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone else has joined the party. Not yet. Anyways, so yeah, great drive from you, Ryan B. I believe you will propel Mercedes up to the front of the constructors if they aren't already there, which they are. And you take the lead of the championship from Alt Maverick. 43 points for you after 2 races. How are you looking at Spain for next week?
Same again, hopefully. Bit of rain, bit of chaos. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. So I don't think if anyone has joined the party, I don't think they're going to join anytime soon. So we're going to end this one off. Mark, do you have anything to say before we end the stream?
Yeah. I think this is Ryan's title to lose. I just want to put a bit of pressure on him because I think it could be easy. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. We've got Alt Maverick hopefully back next week. Cam K does look pacey, and he managed to get some good points out of. If you watch that race back, you'll be glad he got that drive through. I think pacey, but yeah, no, great race, and I look forward to seeing how this division develops. There's plenty of good faces, plenty of good drivers in here, so yeah, well done to Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we have just as fun next week.
Good luck with your race, guys.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, great race from Division 4. I got a pretty decent interview from Ryan B. But yeah, that's been myself, QVR Packer, and Old School 3000. You can watch us in Division 2 in a few minutes. We're going to be racing at the same track, Circuit of the Americas. Hopefully, for my sake, no rain for my home race. And yeah, I think we can end it on that. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and that's